So last night I went to see The Backrooms, which is a newly released movie out of the cinemas made by Kane Parsons, who has created his own content on YouTube over the years in relation to the whole Backroom sort of series, mythos, memology. A lot of people going to the movies to see it will no doubt be at least somewhat familiar with Kane's particular canon of Backrooms content. I'm probably wondering, and this is including myself, is it going to be any good? Now, to those not familiar with the Backrooms, it's a kind of internet sort of memological phenomena wherein everything started from just a single picture on 4chan, and this is years ago. And it's essentially just a kind of like, it's a picture of a pale, sickly yellow wallpapered room lined with kind of generic repeating office lighting. And it's empty, but it has almost like an ineffable, uncanny quality to it. Like it's somewhere both familiar and alien at the same time. And along with the picture, there's a description which provides a warning. And it reads, if you're not careful, you'll no-clip out of reality and into the back rooms. The stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum humbuzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around, because it sure as hell heard you. And from there, from that one single meme, sprouted the whole internet Backrooms mythos, from the humble, creepypasta beginnings on 4chan, all the way to mainstream movies today. And it's a lore that I've always found personally fascinating. I mean, I came across it first with Kane Parsons' first video in his Backrooms series on YouTube initially, which is just called Found Footage. And I had no idea what it was about, but straight away I was hooked. I found the premise fascinating. It's essentially a young guy who, whilst he's filming what looks like to be like a school project with his friends, he seemingly just trips over and then he vanishes, only to reappear in the back rooms. So he's essentially no-clipped out of reality and reappears into another dimension. And he's trapped, but he still has his camera. And he's just kind of walking aimlessly, just through what seems like an empty series of corridors and rooms. All of them similar to one another, but they kind of manifest in a way that doesn't make sort of any architectural sense whatsoever. It's like almost like they're being auto-generated randomly, but they've not fully uploaded properly, so there are bits out of place, like it's a mishmash here and there, and there's furniture just kind of sparsely, randomly dotted around. It just seems to go on forever. There's no end to it. But all the while, there's this uncanny sort of liminal quality to them. Like it's almost like a sort of purgatorial feeling, like he's trapped in his own nightmare and can't wake up. Then all of a sudden, the silence breaks and he's chased by some kind of monster. And you never really see it, but it's basically indescribable anyway. It's like a kind of figment of his own imagination that it's like a jumble of horrors, all kind of just an assortment of things randomly sort of etched together. And it's just relentlessly chasing him, and eventually he's caught. But when he's grabbed, he drops his camera and the camera falls down the dark shaft, and the camera itself no clips back into reality. It like falls from a great height and lands into just someone's garden, and then it abruptly ends. So it's all kind of like reminiscent of the Blair Witch Project in a way, like amateur sort of found footage, like documentary style, that makes it all seem uncannily real. So there's quite a lot of hype behind it. It's an eerie, unsettling sort of postmodern horror concept wherein this idea of liminalism is manifest itself in an alternate dimension where, and this is like a video game, it's white vibes with younger people as well. You can accidentally sort of no-clip, like out of boundaries, like in a video game, and ultimately like you find yourself trapped in like an endless series of rooms and corridors that resemble like almost the dark recesses of society's sort of collective unconsciousness, with the odd like nightmare monster lurking inside. So I think it's just a really original and fascinating new horror take. And now it's a shiny, polished new movie with the original creator of The Helm. So what do I think of it? Well, I was very skeptical at first. Like, maybe it's just me being cynical, but I thought it would be a kind of just cash in, like, Hollywoodization of an original idea that had life only on the internet. Like, it has a memological thread which belongs organically only on the internet. But in watching the movie subsequently at the local Odeon yesterday, I was wrong. I thought it was quite brilliant, and especially for a young auteur director in Parsons, I think he's only turned 20 now, so he's very young. I thought like a lot of the vibe, a lot of the uncanniness would just sort of get lost in the movie process, but like it has to conform to sort of like dumbed down horror tropes and jump scares to win over a popular audience. But this isn't what it does. It has the same sort of uneasy quality to it that the internet videos have, and in interesting ways adds to it. So like the main character upon discovering the Backrooms initially is being filmed like it's a movie. But when he revisits with friends later on, they themselves bring along their own camera, and then the movie shifts perspective. And it does this a number of times. Like at one point, one of the monsters in the Backrooms finds like the amateur camcorder, and then starts to film the protagonist unwittingly from behind. I think where it really differs from the internet videos, what makes the movie original, is the monsters themselves. On the internet, you never get a clear picture of them. They're always just out of sight or in the corner of your eye, and that adds to this kind of elusive, imaginary quality to them. But in the movie, you see them very clearly. And this is where it gets interesting, because the monsters are essentially kind of sort of like fractal, sort of segmented, partially formed versions of their real life human counterparts in the real world. So, and not all of them are hostile. And the one that is, ironically enough, is a kind of giant, monstrous sort of horror facsimile of the main character. And this is where it differs narratively as well. Like in the movie, the lead character isn't sort of desperate and frantically lost in the Backrooms. He finds himself very much at home there. And as it transpires, he becomes so comfortable there. He lives there for an indeterminate amount of time, and you only come across him again when another character, his female therapist, who's introduced earlier in the movie, stumbles across the Backrooms whilst looking for him because she's concerned for his welfare. He's been acting oddly, and also because she herself, funnily enough, she has a kind of odd feeling about him, seemingly. Like something about her own past and how she was locked in her home by her mother as a child. I think she sees something in her patient that harkens back to those sort of half-forgotten, disquieting traumas of childhood. And so she brings along with her to find him a small trinket, which it's like a little block of cemented handprint that she made herself outside of Rome with her mother as a child, and that she's kept with her entire life. And she takes it with her and goes to find the main character inside his own like this weird odd sort of pirate furniture store, which itself has this sort of weird like liminal like backrooms quality to it. And when she finds him in the backrooms at the end of like an ominous passageway with esoteric drawings on it, she just glimpses a kind of a figure hiding just out of view. And when that figure reveals itself, it's not one of the backrooms monsters, it's the main character. Or is it? Because where the movie is interesting is that initial glimpse of a hidden figure, whilst it's revealed to be the main character, is really actually a monster as well. Because as it transpires, he's a monster in real life, and he finds the Backrooms home as a result. So in the movie, sort of reality blends. It mirrors the Backrooms more explicitly than it does on the internet version of the Backrooms, wherein the Backrooms is more like an implicitly sort of external sort of postmodern horror. The glimpse of that partially hidden figure on the internet version would have just been this kind of unknown like other. But this feels much more like you're traversing the sort of discombobulated, disorderly corridors of an unstable mind, where the monsters are one's own demons. This is reinforced when the Backrooms version of the main character is chasing the therapist, and she ends up in the exact copy of the real world storefront where she initially gets lost in the Backrooms. So it's almost like the Backrooms is just a kind of meta analog, sort of like dark reflection of reality, as opposed to it being a kind of undefined collective other. Like, it's, whilst muddled, it's hyper specific in how familiar like objects repeat themselves throughout the Backrooms. Like, it doesn't just feel endlessly random. And so what happens is like the pirate monster version of the main character, like, which admittedly is a really weird sentence, catches the woman, and she fights back with like the little cement block handprint that she's had since she was a child, and she smashes it on him, and it's almost like she's breaking her own psychological trauma symbolically. Like, she's escaping, as the movie describes, her own sort of discordant Backrooms loops in her own head. And she gets out of the Backrooms then, only to get caught by a bunch of scientists in hazmat suits who then trap her in the real world, ironically. So, in short, with all that being said, I really liked it. I found it to be a very interesting take on the Backrooms lore, and I think it adds substantially to it. I think it very much humanises the Backrooms. It's not just an endless kind of meta-modern dimension with random horrors scattered throughout randomly, but it's very much like an alternative world where the horrors within are all too familiar. I think the most like illuminating part of the Backrooms is where, like, the scene where it's like seemingly a monster stumbles across the main character's fallen camera because he's dropped it and films him from behind. But what you don't realise yet is the real world character is no less of a monster, and that he belongs in the Backrooms, trapped in a creation of his own mind with all the other demons for company, and no way out because he can't escape himself. So, yeah, definitely interesting take on the Backrooms. Definitely worth a watch. With that, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next vid.